What's up guys, Will here, and we are going to do a review slash talk slash discussion on the latest chapter of Toriko, the manga series, and it was quite a chapter. So as always, you guys know that Toriko is one of my favorite manga, so I have to do a review on this. Spoiler alert warning, and I'm assuming you've read it, so there will be very little summary. And so we're just going to go straight into this, and there's really a few it was a very simple chapter, so there's only a few simple things I want to really cover. The first, and I'm going to go chronologically for now, keyword is for now. The first thing is Midoriya's tongue. First off, Midoriya, I mean, is it just me, or does his name remind me of a few others from other manga series? I'm pretty sure this is just a coincidence, but the biggest I can think of is Madara from Naruto. Anyhow, what I really wanted to touch on was his tongue thing, and I felt like I could tell what was coming. The very first panel we see where he just barely sticks out his tongue. From that moment, I could tell what was going to come after that. And then obviously we see what's coming out, and then, you know, he's got that huge tongue. And this reminded me of a lot of manga, and this was a little more suspect of being, you know, somewhat inspired at the very least by certain other manga, because I have seen this from a few others, not to that extent, with the tongue shooting out tremendously to almost an infinite sort of spectrum, and then doing all that other unique stuff. So it is very unique to Toriko in certain ways. I mean, Midoriya, like, he has ridiculous control of this tongue. It almost has an infinite length. It has tremendous power and strength and durability and flexibility, and apparently it can shoot out, like, spice can protrude from it from all directions, as well as it can, like, move very fast. And you see there's this one panel where he sort of spins his tongue and it creates like a shield. So that was unique, but it did from the top of my head remind me of Orochimaru from Naruto, Orochimaru. And I can't remember any of the others, but I'm sure there were a few others. I think there's one person in Fairy Tail who was like that as well. I wouldn't consider it copyright at all, or like anything like that. At the very least, I would say a little inspiration from these characters, but it's definitely unique. And obviously, you know, snake mythology and snake human mythology has been going on for thousands of years, and this has probably been going on, so who knows. But it's very interesting, and very interesting to see that this is the technique they chose for Midoriya. Now I see a key aspect of how all these high tier Toriko characters seem to have, which is all their abilities seem to sort of liken to food, which is very unique to Toriko. What I mean by this is that, you know, you have a lot of their abilities likening to either utensils you use during food, or cooking utensils you use when cooking food, or just bodily parts that you use when eating food, like Midoriya with his tongue, and Ichirayu with his chopsticks, and Toriko with his cooking utensils. I think it's very, very cool. Ichirayu's technique also just as cool, if not cooler. He's got his freaking chopsticks, which I can't really tell if they're invisible and imaginary, and it's simply like a invisible force that's sort of likened to the shape of chopsticks, or that the chopsticks actually materialize in front of him. I feel like it's a mixture of both, somewhat like Toriko's spells, you could say, but it's hard to say. But moving on from that, I really like the sort of fight sequence going on. As you can see, Midoriya is just as high on a level as Ichirayu, being able to sort of, I believe what happened was he sort of ate in like a second, or demolished all of the 300, 400 capture level beasts that were on Ichirayu's chopsticks. And then the thing with this is like there's this like constant sort of banter or play between the two about bad food etiquette. First, Midora sort of licks Ichirayu's chopsticks, mainly just to commence the fight. And then Ichirayu was like, "That's bad manners to lick chopsticks." And then Ichirayu uses a technique where it's pretty much him attacking point blank with the pointed end of his chopsticks, like at an exceptionally fast rate. And apparently the name of the technique is in Japanese, like banji or something, which means like pointing chopsticks at another person, which is bad manners in food etiquette, which at least in Chinese culture, which I know of, it's bad manners. So there's that in mind. Moving on from that, it does seem in this chapter as a whole that Ichirayu is winning this fight. I mean, we see him saying remarks like, "Oh, I didn't even have to dodge that," and so it seems like he is winning this fight. But as we know, if you have read a lot of manga, you know that a lot of times in these manga series, chapter by chapter, it's quite a flip. Like initially, you'll see this guy winning the fight tremendously, and then the next chapter, it's a complete upheaval, and then it's like, oh, not really, this guy's stronger. So I'm assuming it's not something to sort of dwell on that Ichirayu is winning the fight as of now, because that will change very quickly. And we do know Midora won, unless there's some sort of tremendous plot twist where Ichirayu won and he sort of adopted Midora's powers, and that's where the meteor spice came from, which still wouldn't make sense because he's raining it down on the human world, and I think it'd be a worse ending. I still, despite it being very sad, I think it was better that Ichirayu won the fight. Moving on from that, we have more important stuff to talk about. The square root theory. Now this is probably the most important thing of the chapter. No summary, just read it again yourself if you don't understand it. I've taken physics levels classes in college, and it's kind of pure crap from how it's explained. If from what I've read, and I think I will read it again after recording this, maybe I missed something, but it seems like it's based on a sort of theory in physics that it's basically pure crap. This theory doesn't follow logic. Basically what it's saying is that you have atoms and they move sporadically in randomized directions, and therefore due to the square root law, a small percentage of them by sort of probability should be moving in sort of unexpected ways, which means like upwards. And so that is happening now. However, what it's saying is that he's simply utilizing these atoms that are moving upward to fly, while somehow discounting or ignoring all the other atoms that took place, all the other atoms that are sort of moving downwards. And first off, I don't think it's actually a square root thing where it's like only 10%. I think it's definitely rooted in like it's a more equal randomization, but the power of gravity is just so strong that it's still gonna pull everything down. But I don't want to get too much into theory. Let me know your comments on this yourself. But again, I'm not going to dwell too much on this. It is fiction. It is Toriko. Let's just assume that they have somehow figured out a way to fly. But if we were to get into a logical sort of mindset, let's just say that Ichirayu logically sort of somehow ignored all his other atoms and managed to sort of create this minority of atoms that he has managed to ignore gravity and make him fly. So that's what I want to say for that. Again, that's the first thing I thought of when I finished reading the square root theory, which apparently lets him fly, which is that he apparently the theory from a physics standpoint doesn't make sense. I'm also curious as to see why Midora knows this theory but has yet to fly himself and doesn't seem to be able to. Maybe it just takes tremendous training and he doesn't have that, but we will see. And then the final thing of the chapter at the very end, it seems like again Ichirayu is winning, but again we can't sort of dwell on this because it is a manga and these things sort of flip-flop. And then we do see this minority world sort of spell or whatever that Ichirayu is using at the end. And again, this sort of likens back to, okay, this does make a little more sense because in Toriko they can use sort of spells which might sort of logically reason why this square root theory works. But minority world, cool spell, we don't know what it is. It seems to have completely changed the surroundings. Most likely it's something that has made everything into a minority in the world, which means probably all the bizarre stuff that are in the world are now coming out, while the bizarre stuff, the expected stuff, have sort of disappeared. So we will see what's going to happen with that. I really do think Midora's stronger. I mean, Ichirayu has been referenced as the old man. He's aged. He had the stockpile for this fight. Remember that mountain of food he ate? He's obviously very nervous himself. And I mean, Midora's in his prime. And I just like that sort of, the hair is sort of like waves out like worms. And it's like one of the first times I saw it, it just likened to like power emanating from him. And right now it's sort of like, it's more so like his tongue. It's very much like how his tongue functions with the wavy stuff. So not as cool, but still, we'll see what happens. As always, leave your comment on your thoughts on the series, and like, favorite, comment, and subscribe.